doing push-ups. I've been doing sit-ups. I've been doing chin-ups. I've been doing pull-ups. I threw up once, but I'm okay now.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to a Monday. Yes, it is a Monday edition of the Ysn Power Hour. DJ on this side, Richie on that side. We got a great show for you because we got a lot to talk about, a lot to break down. Anthony and Ty did a great job breaking down the weekend that was, which is really just a big Friday, if you think about it. Obviously, the Crestview ladies and the Wellsville ladies moving on in the volleyball world, but we're going to break down some more football for you. We're going to talk about pretty much every game. We're going to touch on them at least. What are expectations going into this week? What are the team's expectations going into the week? Maybe we'll jump on the Fantastic 50 and see what the spreads are going into the game. If you're wondering why I'm wearing Canfield gear, should we start with that?
It's opposite day.
It's not opposite day, but there's one guy that I'm dressed like that everybody knows. And everybody, I think, loves. And he does this a lot. I don't know, Rich. I don't know. Or talk like you're going to be me announcing.
Hey,
but there he is, right down the right side. Yeah, there he was. There he was. Touchdown. I am going as Gary Niddle, the Liberty teacher and Canfield baseball coach and YSN commentator this year, 2022. So I was getting some weird looks, as we were talking about before, dropping off Z-Man at school this morning at East Palestine. They were kind of like, Canfield? It's like, yeah, of course. I'm Gary Niddle. Nice to meet you.
Canfield guy dropping off my kid at East Palestine.
Yep. Nice to meet you.
Open enrollment.
Gary Niddle. Shaking hands, kissing babies, just like Mayor Niddle. All in good jest. Gary knows I love him. He poked the bear, so this is what he gets. We had a photo shoot earlier, so I'm excited. I already sent him those. You ready for On This Day in Sports History?
Yep.
It's going to be good if I can find it. Where is it? There it is, up there. All right, on this day in sports history in 1988, happy Halloween, by the way. First Monday night NFL game played in Indianapolis. Colts defeat the Denver Broncos 55-23. What a hell of a way to open up in Indy. But it kind of leads into tonight. We're not going to talk about it for long, but we are going to talk about it. Cincy, Cleveland, the Battle of Ohio.
Yep.
Cincy has been owned by the Browns.
Yeah, they played well against Cincinnati the last couple of years.
I'm supposed to be playing Gary Niddle, not you. Don't be walking over me. The Mayfield era over.
Mm-hmm.
He pretty much owned the Bengals. Do you think that kind of continues tonight, or do you think that the Bungles and Joe Burrow seem to be legit? They seem to be kind of picking up speed a little bit.
Yeah, they're getting better as the season goes on for sure. I mean, they're not as good as they were last year. 4-3 start, which is, mediocre. And we talked about this division this year. It's anybody's game, anybody's division. It seems like every single matchup this year is going to be close. And, that's what makes this division fun. But, the Browns need one big. Let's be honest. They need one big. They've been bad the last couple of weeks. defensively, got to be able to stop the run, something they haven't been able to do a lot. But, Cincinnati's a pass-first team, which kind of helps the secondary a little bit. We've got some good corner players that have been playing pretty well. Emerson, who's a rookie, has been stepping up big time. Just the question is, can we stop Joe Burrow?
2-5, could be 2-6, could be 3-5, depending on the outcome of tonight's game. My question for you, Rich, as a Browns fan, you gave up so much to get Deshaun Watson. Mm-hmm. The fans are already kind of out on the Browns, especially after when the Guardians were still in the playoffs. It was go Guardians. Who the hell are the Browns? Doesn't matter. The season's over. The Browns fans kind of coming back to Cleveland because, well, the majority action just kind of jumped right over football season already to basketball season. Mm-hmm. You say this is a big game. I think it's a pivotal game because if they don't win this game, season's over. It's done. Mm-hmm. You're in the same boat as the Steelers, only the Steelers have their next first-round draft picks for the next 3 years and beyond, where the Browns don't. They gave up a ton to get Deshaun Watson. Is that the light at the end of the tunnel, or is it just, oh my gosh, do we really have to watch, the second season almost when Deshaun comes back in week 12?
Yeah, no, that's why the first 4 games for the Browns were so pivotal. Like losing to the Jets was demoralizing. That loss, because you could be potentially a 3-4 football team, and then 500 after tonight if you beat Cincinnati in the season. With the Ravens being 5-3, only a couple games ahead of this AFC North standings, you're still in it towards the end of the year when you get Deshaun Watson back. But now that you're 2-5, and if you're 2-6, way behind the 8 ball. And you're right, it ruins the season. And I think everybody's eyes go from Cleveland Browns football, Cleveland Cavaliers basketball, because, the Cavs are going to be a playoff team this year. Trading for Donovan Mitchell was huge. And, if the Browns don't win tonight, I still think the season's over when it comes to the playoff hopes. But you know how Cleveland is. They cling on to anything.
Cling on, literally, like not even the Star Trek reference. But the Cavs are doing great.
Oh, Cavs are awesome.
I
love the Cavs.
We had some great plays over the weekend on Friday, and we culminated all of it with 3 plays, and we call it our NST Sports performances of the week. We're going to show them to you right now. Get ready, because here we go. This week's Plays of the Week brought to you by NST Sports Performance. Visit them on the web at nstsports.com.
See what your receivers can do in this situation. And Grissip got to keep him, making a man miss. Got to juke another man, shoot Cunningham out. There goes Grissip to the 50. Jukes another man out. That was called it. Only shoot down. Grissip all the way. Touchdown! My, oh my, Alec Grissip!
Nice. Off, but he keeps it. Nice. Himself, and he's got a lane. 50.
Luke Courtney on his own. Getting out there. Great blocking down the field.
He's going back to the 20.
Field.
Dead.
Oh, my goodness.
Touchdown.
Oh, we got a flag. Oh, my goodness.
Oh,
great
no.
night.
The guy you are excited about, Jamel James, coming out of the Falcons' backfield. Cam Smith in the shotgun. One receiver each way for the Falcons duo set. The snap, the handoff, Jamel gets it, finds a hole, Jamel James off to the races! There he goes! Break it in for 6! One play, Falcons on top! Wow!
Dude is lightning. James is fast. Mike said it best. Wow. 3 great games. Obviously, 3 winners. United with their first ever playoff victory. When you're talking about a team like United, that was a surprising stat to me. There wasn't a whole lot of defense to be played in that particular game.
Yeah, we knew that.
But it was interesting to me that was a first ever playoff victory. There's a lot of victories at United. DJ Ogilvy, you think of some of the players that come through, even, Brutus, his son, such a great quarterback. The 2020 season, I don't know if people are not counting that as playoffs, I guess. But to me, it's interesting. And Amo had such a great call on that United game with Doc D's, and the excitement you can tell. And the text message right after that was immediately, United's going to beat Kirtland. And that's who they match up with. They've got a shot. There's no doubt in my mind they got a shot, because when you can put up points like they did, 62 points on Friday, you're probably going to need to do that same thing against Kirtland if you want a chance to win.
Yeah, and you're going to have to win the turnover battle when it comes down to it, because you're going to have to score at least 45 points to beat Kirtland, but you're also going to have to find a way at least once or twice to turn the ball over on the defensive side.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to have to find a way to get Kirtland out of their rhythm early and often. I think that's the only way you beat this team on Friday night, if you come out and you smack them in the mouth early. Otherwise you let Kirtland get into that offense, and they've kind of mixed some things. I've watched their tape a lot, the last couple of weeks. They're no longer that run heavy offense like we've seen. They've been throwing the ball a lot this season, and it adds a different dimension to their game. And they've beaten so many Division II teams, one of ours, Lakeside, being one of them. So it definitely is going to be probably the biggest challenge of the night, I think, overall from all our teams on YSN. Because, at Kirtland, they've been there. They've done that. They've been in the state championship 3 years in a row. So, they have the experience. They're well coached. And, this is definitely a team that is at the top of the mountain.
Yeah, well, they're not, though, because they weren't picked as the AP favorites. Marion Local was.
Yeah.
So you look at that, and I think that actually helps Kirtland, because now
there's extra motivation.
They got a little underdog-ism in them, and typically Kirtland's not the team that you're looking at as the underdog.
No.
Typically they're the ones that you're looking at as they're the Apollo Creed, if you will, and everybody else is the Rocky. So I think that, fully aware, United understands their situation. So let me ask you this question. Do you think it's a situation where United is going to just kind of have to get into kind of a shootout and just score, and kind of like they did on Friday, just throw the defense out the window and put points on the board?
Gonna have to. It's the only way you beat them. Probably last possession. You get the ball last, and you have a chance to win. That's probably the only way they're going to be able to beat Kirtland, I think.
People look at that and they say, well, that's not a strategy. It is. It absolutely is a strategy. You throw defense out the window, and if you get a couple stops here and there, it's cherry on top.
Yep.
But if you can get into a shootout with Kirtland, I think you got a shot.
One thing I took away from round one, and you know what? I was able to witness New Philadelphia's game plan against Canfield. They took the ball out of Brock Lowry's hands all night long. And you look at that score, it's 27-10. You're like, man, that's a lot closer. I thought the two would blow out to 15, and then we did too, because New Philadelphia was 6-4. They had some losses that were questionable earlier in the season, coming off a big win against Dover, who's the rival. And United's kind of the same way, although they've got more wins and, better wins than New Philadelphia had. I think the key to beating a team like that is you keep their offense off the field. You convert on 3rd and 4th down, and you have to put into the back of your mind going into that game, we're going to have to use some risks. We're going to have to make some risks throughout this ball game, whether that be an onside kick at some point, whether that would be going for it, even if it's at your own 40-yard line. You're going to have to find ways to keep their defense on the field and get them as tired as possible throughout the game.
So when you look at that, game plans are essential for playoffs. You can't really stray away from them unless it's a close game and you find something else in kind of the rhythm of the game. But that said, there's teams that are just red hot, and one of those red hot teams, the Struthers Wildcats.
Yes.
I mean, we saw Ian had a great call of the Alec Grzib. I think it was a 77-yard touchdown, juking dudes out of their jocks. And you look at what Struthers has been able to do under the tutelage of Coach Bayek, and his great staff there. This team's got an uphill battle this week against West Branch. Mm-hmm. West Branch is a little dinged up. Do you think that Struthers is still kind of flying under the radar right now?
I think so. What separates Struthers from the first half now to the second half is actually their defense, not even their offense with Alec Grzib, because they're setting them up in great field position all night long. This team in the last 6 games has now given up close to 13 points per game. Now, in the first half of the season, they were giving up almost like 40, and now it's 13. So the defense, and we talked about this with 2 sophomore defensive linemen to start the season, 2 linebackers that were sophomores in the secondary, now that they have matured and have been used to varsity football, these guys are starting to clamp down. And therefore, now you open up the offense with great field position every drive.
So we saw Drew DeShields go down, did not return to the ball game, but Alizos comes in and he shows us that he's every bit capable of putting up some Drew DeShields like numbers in the next couple of years. It's nice to have that, right? But at the same point, for Struthers, you don't have a whole lot of tape to watch what Alizos has to offer. You've got a half of football. So how do you prepare for that?
I think you got to key in on their really good wide receivers. I mean, Christian Martig has been an absolute animal this year. And then, as we get to the postseason, Boston Molnix has been there all season long. So you take away the run game, and now you have the backup quarterback throwing the football. Yes, they've got 3 really talented wide receivers on the outside, but once you stop the run, then you could bring 8 guys in coverage to double team some of those wide receivers. So I think Friday night for Struthers, it's going to be early and often. Let's stop this run defensively so they are forced to throw the football.
Siggy chiming in, he says he's noticing how big the kicking game is becoming. More field goal attempts as well as onside and short kickoffs. I couldn't agree with that more. The third phase of the football game is becoming one of the bigger phases in the playoffs this year, and that has been kind of a narrative in Week 11 was, what can you do? Can you kick field goals? Can you showcase some of these kickers? And as much as you want to kick it into the end zone, it's almost better sometimes if you can get it to drop inside the 5 and they have to return it.
Yeah, no, you're right. Special teams is a huge part of the game. I was able to see a 48-yard field goal made at Canfield on Friday night from New Philadelphia's senior kicker, Nathaniel D. Myth. Unbelievable job by him. And that was actually the spark of the game for New Philadelphia. Drills the 48-yard field goal. Next possession, onside kick. He recovers it himself. So kickers are a huge dimension in this part of the season. Like you said, when it gets cold, you got to be accurate with your kickoffs, because I've seen a team like the Cheney Cowboys with my own eyes return 3 touchdowns on the kickoff. I mean, that completely changes ball game. So special teams, you got to win when it comes to the playoffs.
So Amo chiming in and says Drew Pasture has West Branch has 20-point favorites. I think that's too much with how Struthers has been playing. Very underrated team. I'm just going to stand with Amo on this one. I think 20 points is too much from that standpoint. I think there's a lot of questions as to who's going to be playing in this game for the Green Machine. And if not, and again, I think Alizos is every bit capable of being able to step in. But I've said this for 2 years now. There is no replacing a Drew DeShields. His leadership, the way he can just take over a football game, the respect that he has from his opponents, the respect he has from the opposing coaching staffs, and I think the kind of, I don't know, leadership, the commitment that he has from the guys around him. When 12 steps on the field, you know it.
He draws so much attention, really, to sum that up. When you look at the opposing coaching staff, they're keying in on 12 because you got to defend him in 2 ways. He can beat you on his feet and through the air. So there's always a spy, with Drew DeShields, and that takes away a defender in the secondary. And that's why that opens up guys like Martig and their good wide receivers that they have in Coffee, because
you got to keep one eye on the backfield.
And now you also factor in Boston Molnix, who's been running it all season long. So there's 2 dimensions in the backfield you have to cover. You take Drew DeShields out there, now you're down to 1. So it's definitely an advantage if, Struthers doesn't face Drew DeShields on Friday night. I think it completely changes their defensive scheme per se, because now you could play man coverage on the outside and bring the blitz against the run. So I think if 12's not out there, it's a completely different ball game. And, his leadership qualities, like you said, he's been there, done that, 3 years starting now for West Branch. He's been able to finish games. Like Alliance was the big one to me. That was the staple victory for this West Branch team. And what did he do during that drive? 2 4th-down conversions, spun around, almost down to the ground to end the football game, somehow able to flip it out. Just big-time moments. It calls for Drew DeShields because he makes the big-time plays.
But it's one of those, in the back of my mind, I'm wondering, and I don't know if you're a Guardians of the Galaxy or just a Marvel fan in general, but there's a moment in one of the last Infinity War movies, right, that they asked, what did it cost? You want this, but what did it cost? And the answer was everything. And you wonder what that Alliance game costed West Branch, because that to me was where we really saw Drew get dinged up.
Yeah, he got hurt. Yeah.
And what did it cost? It hasn't cost him anything quite yet, but what could it have cost the rest of the season? How far did it cost them to go? We're praying for Drew DeShields, hoping that he gets back to 100% healthy, because he's fun to watch when he is. And he's even, I mean, listen, even when he's hurt, he's still fun to watch, and he's giving it 110%. So cannot wait to see what this game holds. But I definitely think, to close my point, I'm with Amo. I think it's closer than a 20-point ball game.
Yep.
Jim Bartell chiming in. He says, and this is exactly where we were going, Jamal James was a beast, 305 yards and 6 touchdowns. Mike said it the only way he could. Wow. This Fitch team is tasked with not only playing a really tough team in Mayfield in week 1, but now you've got Akron St. V's coming to town. Richie, you've seen Akron St. V's in person. You've seen Fitch. I mean, we've all seen Fitch all season long. What does Fitch have to do to get the respect of people out there watching, or people out there looking for one of the best teams in our valley? I mean, the running backs are probably the best 1-2 punch, if not the best 1-2 punch we've seen on YSN in our entire existence.
Yeah, that's why I'm a little concerned Friday night, because St. Vincent St. Mary has one of the best run defenses in Northeastern Ohio. I saw him shut down Christian Lynch from the point of attack on week 7, I think that was, at Stambaugh Stadium when they played Ursuline from start to finish. Their linebackers had 2 interceptions that night. This is a really good defensive crew for St. Vincent St. Mary. They're not the biggest up front. They're actually pretty small compared to a lot of Division II schools on the defensive line, but it's their linebackers that make up for everything. Crash to the football, team attack, very physical, and they're hungry. So I think that this is going to be a great football game. You know, we talked about it without their starting quarterback and Deshaun Vaughn. Can they throw the football? Because they're going to have to at some point, I think, on Friday. Riding, what did he run for? 305 yards. Yeah. I don't think you're going to get that type of production against St. Vincent St. Mary. So you're going to have to throw the football to open up that running game for James.
There wasn't a whole lot of pressure on Cam Smith in week 11 because his running backs picked him up. 6 touchdowns for James. Is this Cam Smith's breakout week?
Yeah, it's got to be, I think. I think he's going to have to find a way to, either beat him in the RPO or, through the air. We haven't seen him throw the ball too much. I know he's been in this situation before. 2 years ago, he had to fill in when the starting quarterback went down. But, I think he's going to have to throw the ball. He's going to have to prove people wrong in week number 12.
Okay, so then we move on to one of my favorite games because it's the one I get to call. It's going to be South Range and Garfield. Both teams winning, I think, handily. I mean, it is what it is. It was, I think, 48-21 for Garfield and 35-6 for South Range. You look at these two teams who were on a collision course last year and missed each other. Now you have fun in the sun, 72 degrees and sunny this Friday, according to our friends at Storm Tracker 21, where Garfield, who they can play in basically the length of this table, football, they play in a phone booth against a South Range team that I'm not going to say hasn't been tested, but I think faces their biggest test here in week 12.
I think it's an advantage for South Range that it's 72 degrees and sunny, because when it's colder, all Garfield likes to do is run the football.
Mm-hmm.
They got, I think, 4 guys that have over 300 yards. Keegan Sells got over 800 and a couple of touchdowns. So, he's definitely the guy to stop for South Range's defense. And, South Range is one of the best defenses in Division 5. There's no doubt about that. So Garfield, I think, same situation like we talked about before. They're going to have to come out on the opening possession and prove that they can hang with this team, or else I think it's going to be a long night for the G-men.
So you look at South Range with a win, in obviously they got the win in week 11, but Cardinal Mooney gets a win in week 11 pretty handily, like we thought would happen. We hoped it wouldn't be. They showed up and they showed out. It'll set up, if Mooney can win this week, it'll set up a matchup between either Garfield or what we think will be the matchup of week 13 in South Range. When you think about that matchup, I know we're looking ahead. We should still be looking at week 12, but we got to have our finger on the pulse, Richie. That could be one of the best games of the year.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. I mean, you got Cardinal Mooney. The record doesn't reflect how they played this season. I mean, taking it to a 10-0 Edison team like they did in round one. Norwayne's going to be a very difficult out, I think, especially on the road. Norwayne's a team that put up 71 points in round one, I think, which is the most by any team in Division 5. So it's definitely going to be a very difficult task. Norwayne's a team that likes to throw the football a lot. They never run the ball. You know, Cardinal Mooney's defense, have they been prepared for that? I think so. But I think we're also going to find out on Friday night whether they can stop the passing attack.
I'm really excited for this. And Amos says Mooney favorites again as they take on Norway. So what is it about Mooney? Is it, you said the schedule. Do you like teams that can prepare their schedule and just kind of pepper it with these powerhouses throughout, get in with 4 wins and go for a ride?
Well, and I think the craziest thing about Mooney is, yes, they've lost some games to Steubenville, Lindsley, which you were able to see down there in West Virginia, Boardman, and Ursuline. But 3 out of those 5 losses are within a possession. So they're not getting blown out. They're in every single game this year. That Steubenville game lost by 2 possessions, but it was the big plays. And if you limit those big plays, you're in the football game. So, you know, I think Mooney up front is bigger and stronger than anybody right now in D5. And that's the difference really with Cardinal Mooney is their offensive and defensive line. They're just bigger than a lot of Division 5 schools.
All right. As I'm trying to wait for this to click over. From everybody in the playoffs so far, everybody on Friday, who impressed you the most that you're sitting there going, okay, I see you?
Yeah. You know, there were a couple teams that impressed me. One of them was Valley Christian.
Oh, mama.
I was like, oh my goodness, this is going to be a long night for Trinity. 53-0 was the final, I think so.
Wasn't that at halftime
and
too?
It was like, I think something at half.
I'm pretty sure it was 53 at half, and they didn't score the rest of the way.
I was like, wow. I'm like, Cuyahoga Heights is probably going to get smashed.
I texted Coach Hake and said, way to finish, with a wink face. And he goes, cold-blooded, my guy.
Valley is like,
everybody knows that, or I hope they do, that Andy Hake is one of the most compassionate guys. He's not out to bully the people who can't keep up, right? So if he's up by 40 at halftime, he's gonna call the dogs off. You know, they think they pretty much have it in hand. Clock's running, all that stuff. But if you try to start scoring, you try to play some tricks, he's got some treats up his sleeve too. So Coach Hake he'll let his guys play. Obviously, they didn't get a Week 10 game, so they wanted to beat off some of that rust a little bit, which is why I think they were playing a little bit more aggressive than typically. But if they're not impressing you, like you said, they were one of the most impressive teams, and I can't stand in front of you and say no.
Yeah, I was like, wow. I mean, 53-0 in a half, and then, you know, of course they're going to have to play a Mogador team at some point who beat JFK. So we know very well that Mogador is going to be a very difficult game in that regional semifinal, but we're all hoping to see a Valley Christian and, you know, possibly Kirtland in that regional final, because if there's one team that can stop the style offense that Kirtland runs, it's Valley Christian.
United.
They've already proven that before.
I'm just trying to help United out. Here's a game that I was kind of keep my eye on the entire night. I know you were too. Alliance and Cheney. That Alliance was hanging and it had the lead, and you know, what are they going to do? And all of a sudden, Cheney just turned on the afterburners, and all of a sudden, they were gone. Yep. The Cheney Cowboys lassoed up and rode it home, and really just dominated Alliance the second half of that football game.
Obviously, there was a difference between Matt Jones because he played in the second half, and you know, he's that type of player that when he steps onto the field, he's run that offense all season long. He makes a pivotal difference for the Cowboys, and it's very difficult to hang with the conditioning of the Cheney Cowboys for 4 quarters. They're fast, they're physical. It's easier in the first half because you're fresh, you're ready to go. Once you get to that second half and the legs start to get a little bit tired, this is a Cowboys team that hits you full head on, and you know, that's why in the second half they have actually played better in second halves than in the first half all season long.
That's why you start Galt, right? And you get one pace of play, and then all of a sudden Jones comes in, and he's got fresh legs, and it's lights out. Mm-hmm. And he came in on defense first, I was told, and laid some lumber and then got on the offensive side and just it was like watching, almost like Lamar Jackson, where everybody else looks like they're in slow motion. He had fresh legs. Amo says Valley, Brookfield, Springfield United, Mooney all looked good. There were a lot of teams that looked good. I don't think anybody looked bad in their wins in Week 11. Do you?
No, there's never a bad win in the postseason. I always say that because every team, in the postseason is ready to go. They always have some tricks up their sleeve, especially if you're the down seed. But no, there wasn't one team I looked at. I'm like, oh, that's kind of surprising. The only one I looked at half was Beaver Local and Coventry. That was a close game at halftime.
It was.
I believe that was a 2-point game at one point. And I was like, this is kind of surprising because I thought Beaver Local would really roll them right off the jump.
I thought the same thing because I remember some of the comments we had on Friday. I was like, oh, man, we're going to have to eat some of those up like cookies on Monday. But the late bloomers, the Beaver Local Beavers, do it again. We'll talk about them in just a moment. Another team that, my goodness, Richie, what can we not say about Warren JFK? They take it to Fairport Harding, no problems. And that sets up a very intriguing matchup this week, my friend. It
does. Springfield and Warren JFK, I think a matchup a lot of people around this area have been waiting for a long time, especially when Springfield made that jump from 0-4 to 6-4 to end the season. And then they match up as the 8th seed. 116 plays 8 and 9. So, we're kind of happy to have this one on Friday night at Liberty because that's where JFK is going to play it. So 7 o'clock, it's going to be fun. I think Springfield's getting better every week. Defense played really well against Matthews with a shutout, which is rare in postseason play. So I don't know, a very hot Springfield team. JFK's kind of been there all season long. They've been the top dog for a long time. So it's going to be fun. I know Sean Guerrero, he is a dog in the postseason.
He called this. He told me, he goes, well, we're going to see JFK in the second round. And he also called them not starting 0-4. He said the first 4 games are going to be tough for us. They're going to be murderer's row. And then if we get past that, I think we can do some damage. And that's exactly what they did. They're 6-4. Now 7-4 going into week 12. This is going to be a tough pick. This one's going to take me all the way till probably Friday morning. Yeah.
I'm still thinking about it.
Because there's just so many different aspects that these two, to my knowledge, have never played before under the setting of football, right? We're used to watching these two teams play in state championships at the same time and say all that stuff. We were doing it a few years ago. And now we're watching these two teams playing week 12 against each other. This is incredible to me. This is fun to me.
Yeah.
But it's also a little bit weird. It's like seeing your cousin and you're like, what are you doing here? You know what I mean? You see him at the movie. Hey, what are you doing here, man? I'm on a date. And it's a girl you used to date. So it's it's a little bit weird in D7 right now. A little bit weird.
I hope that situation never happens to me.
I hope it never happens. You got 18,000 people that are related to you, Rich, and they all are on this show. So
where's Father Duluth at today?
Father Duluth is taking the day off. It's Halloween.
True. I forget. I always forget it's Halloween.
And we're going to talk about.
Oh boy, that could be a conflict tonight.
What?
Is trick or treating tonight?
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's not good.
Why?
Canfield kids are not going to be happy with our house.
You don't have candy?
I'm going to be watching the Browns.
Oh no.
This could be a bad night.
You better take that laptop out and watch on the porch.
No, they'll be fine. I always give the candy out.
Richie gets the good candy.
It's always my job. Oh, it's an 8:15. We'll be good.
You're
Trick or treating's done by then.
What time's Canfield trick or treat?
I have no idea.
It's sponsored by Coco's on 21's website. We got to figure that out.
All right,
we'll figure that out on the break. Let's take a break and let's get to some more games right after this on your sports network.
I support police funding, securing our borders, and parental rights in education. I'm attorney Mark Hanai, the only Republican running for the 7th District Court of Appeals. I will always follow the law.
Paid for by the committee to elect Mark Hanai judge. Dave Johnson, chairman.
Fall is in the air. The kids are back to school, crowds are cheering for the home team, and Myers Family Insurance is prepped for another crazy Medicare season. Every year there's changes, some big, some small, so it's important to have a conversation to make sure your plan is going to meet your expectations for the coming year. Give our team a call today to schedule your annual review.
For all your Medicare needs, call Myers Family Insurance or visit us on the web. Check us out online at myersfamilyins.com.
Locally owned and operated, Sheely's relaxed shopping experience means browsing and lounging is always encouraged.
Find Flex Deal and more at Sheely's Furniture and Appliance, because the best things in life happen at home.
I'm Mark Hanai, a conservative Republican. I believe in family values, the Second Amendment, and our Constitution. Vote for the only Republican running for the 7th District Court of Appeals. Protect your rights. Vote Hanai for judge.
Happy Halloween, little boys and girls. You want some candy? That's the weirdest. That's creepy. You did that. Do your Happy Halloween.
I don't know that.
Happy Halloween. Goblins and ghouls and witches. Welcome back to the Ysn Power Hour. DJ Yoakley with you. Here we go. Hope Richie likes eggs.
What about toilet paper too?
What would you do if you're sitting out on the front stoop with candy and you're out of candy? Let's just say you're out of candy and the kids just all at once just start egging you in toilet paper. Like, what would be your first response?
Probably start yelling. Hey! I got an airsoft gun I could grab.
I can't even. Is your airsoft gun close? Is it in the garage?
Yeah, it's got cobwebs all over it.
Oh my gosh. You're going to be trying to shoot these kids with airsoft guns. Is it a rifle or is it like the handgun thing?
No, it's a rifle.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Like pellets.
You're literally the kid from Christmas Story.
Yeah.
You're going to shoot your eye out.
I hope not.
Trying to protect the house. The Red Rider is going to protect Richie's house tonight. So don't be egging the Casa de Giuliano. So before the break, we're talking about these football games. There's a lot to look forward to. Let's get back on track here as we take a look down. Team we didn't talk about, Ursuline.
Good.
Yo.
Very good. I think Talmadge is going to be a difficult matchup in round two. Talmadge is a really good football team for being the 6th seed. They've got a wide receiver going to play at the University of Wisconsin in the Big Ten. They love to throw the football. They don't run it very much. 2 big offensive linemen, their guard and their tackle. So it's going to be a good matchup, I think. Ursuline's kind of skated through the second half of this season, and they're looking for a test, and I think that will happen in round 2. Of course, we talked about it, alluded to it. South Range, Cardinal Mooney, potential regional semifinal. Same thing in Division III, potential Canfield and Ursuline, which, I don't know. I got to go back in the books. I don't think these two teams have ever played before on the football field. So that would definitely be a matchup for ages 2 against 3.
You guys can just call it off because Romo and Richie rule the night if that happens.
Yeah, that'd be fun. That would be a lot of fun. I don't know where they'd play it. Potentially maybe Fitch, Boardman.
That'd be interesting.
Trying to think where else they could play that. They're not going to play at Stanbaugh because that's the home of the Irish. So that's out.
I think it'd be cool to play at Stanbaugh. Even like
it would be cool.
That's still a neutral field to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because it's so big.
Yeah, that's if it was like Mineral Ridge for like where Cardinal Mooney plays, I could see it. But you're playing at a college stadium that's so big, and it doesn't hold sound very well. So I don't think that there's a whole thing. Plus, I think that's a game that you would get a lot of ticket sales.
You would get 1 million.
Yep.
I think everybody around the valley would either go to Cardinal Mooney, South Range, or Canfield or Ursuline.
Oh my gosh. Can you imagine if those two, like our ticket sales would be up that night because whoever's at that game is going to be watching the other game on their device and vice versa. So I can't say I'm rooting for it, but I think that would be 2 of the most intriguing matchups that we've ever seen.
No, there's no doubt about it. We've been calling this since week 6. Let's get Ursuline Canfield. Let's get Mooney and South Range. And, luckily for us, they both landed on the same side of the bracket. So it's possible.
Well, it's one of those things like people don't get to see, and I wish they could. I wish we had a show that people could see the backstage of YSN. You literally come in every week and you say, can you imagine? Can you imagine? And you say this team against this team against this team. And now we're going to get a little bit of that.
Yeah.
Or at least it's looking like it. We're creeping towards it like that creepy dude in the van, the white van. Stay away from white vans, kids. Handing out candy. Not good. Houses only tonight. Houses only. With your parents' permission, of course. And as we creep towards that, people are excited. And they should be. Because when we're seeing matchups that we've never seen before, or dream matchups for both sides that, kind of like our power rankings, right? You look at the power rankings, we could beat them. We could beat them.
Okay.
Now you got a chance.
Let's see.
Now you have a chance.
Yep.
Talking leads to walking. So congratulations to the Ursuline Irish. Again, making another step towards another state run here in 2022. Hubbard, we saw them bow out of the playoffs against Girard. Girard is just, when you look at it, they're just good. And it doesn't matter who they put where. They are playing team football right now. And they move on to the next round. And I think it's another all-local matchup, is it not?
Yeah, they got Jefferson.
Yeah, so you got another NE8. Like the Jefferson Falcons cannot get away from the NE8 right now. They're like, hey, we're leaving. We're done here. Bye. And then boom, here's one. Boom, here's another.
Yeah.
But like how can they get out of the NE8? That's all they're asking right now.
Well, the bottom half of the bracket is all 4 NE8 teams. Girard, Hubbard, Jefferson, Poland. Poland drops a very tight matchup to Jefferson. A lot closer than a lot of people thought. 14-13 the final. So, I think Girard and Jefferson's kind of the best matchup of the night when you look at it. These are two very even balanced teams, 3 against 6. Both have 3 losses, both 8-3. So, you couldn't get much more even than that.
So you look at the next matchup we saw on Friday was Jackson Milton at Dalton, and poor Jackson Milton runs into the buzzsaw that has become Dalton here this year. A great season for the Blue Jays, Schiavi and the whole crew. Doing a great job out of Jackson Milton. I'm sure there's a few records that were broken this year because of what they did. So congratulations on a phenomenal year to the Blue Jays. Liberty, we talked about South Range already. Liberty bows out of the playoffs with a tough loss to South Range. They played hard. They played well. I felt like there was an injury every 3 minutes because they just were outmatched and outgunned. And you could see it during certain portions of the game. But Liberty, there were a lot of sophomores, a lot of juniors on that roster. They're going to be very good in the years to come. Coach Simon, keep doing what you're doing. We're proud of you and what you're doing there with the Leopards. Another tough run. Lisbon goes almost 3 hours to Norwalk St. Paul. They held their own. They did, but when you're looking at a 3-hour bus trip and you don't get back till almost 2 a.m, that's a tough business trip. And the Blue Devils bow out this season I still say it's on a high note. I know it didn't look good on Friday, but that's a St. Paul team that's very good. And now we'll take on Southern, who we're going to talk about here in a minute. Springfield, we already talked about them, just absolutely crushed Matthews. And I think we're going to see that this year from Springfield but again, they got JFK. So you got, I don't even know where I want to say right now, because you've got two massive beings. That is Springfield football, and Springfield brings the juice.
Yep.
And they bring, this game going to be at Liberty, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Springfield's going to fill the stands with Springfield people. And you've got JFK, who, Blue Pride bleeds well. And I cannot wait for this game. It's the one I'm talking to Dana about this week on Channel 21 on our Thursday night segment. I cannot wait for this game. Probably, to me, the biggest matchup of round 12 or of week 12 are these two teams going against each other.
You talked about the pride of both communities, and it's going to be a very, very hard fought football game. For Springfield to draw JFK in the second round is no joke for the Eagles. When you're the 1 seed, you're probably thinking, well, we're going to get a pretty easy way until we get to the state or even the regional final. But that is not the case here in that region. It's tough with Southern, who's on that side of the bracket. Lowville they'll have to play if they get to the regional final potentially. So it's going to be a very difficult round for JFK to get through. I think JFK is tested. They've played Division IV teams and they've beat them. I don't know. I think it's going to be tough for Springfield, but I still think they have a chance to win this football game. I really do. Like just their playoff intensity and their postseason history. It's just like it's always tough to beat them. For some reason, by this time, they're always well-rounded.
I don't get it. I never understand it, but I love watching it. And that's the best part of watching JFK because these kids are built for championships. They're built for it. They're almost bred for it. They have great pedigree in their school, in their DNA. These names that you see year after year after year, it's amazing to see. But in that same breath, both of these teams, JFK, Springfield, have played a lot of football in the last 3 years, probably more than any team around here. So I'm excited beyond excited for this game. Cannot wait to see this one. And we're going to give you clearances and all that stuff here in just a minute. We're making our way through and kind of giving our obituaries for some of these teams in the 2022 season. We talked about Fitch, Mineral Ridge. They were tasked with a very, very tough task in Canton Central Catholic. And they just couldn't get it done. And you understand why, because Tri-C is a very, very good team. And when you look at what Mineral Ridge was up against, they got to a point and they just kind of fell apart. But they went out the way they could. They still played physical to the very end. Very proud of Mineral Ridge this season, doing, again, things that I'm sure they broke records this year. Yeah. Coach Shaner is I'm sure, going to talk about this season with a lot of pride moving forward as a stepping stone to what's to come from Mineral Ridge.
Yeah, they had their best record since 2007. So a heck of a campaign for Coach Shaner and, bringing in some other assistant coaches from around the valley who had a lot of experience. Chet Allen being one of those who's a 6-year head coach at Liberty. He spent short times at different places. So their coaching staff is really good. Even when I watched a lot of those player profiles, they were still very young, especially on the line. So, as those guys get better and bigger and faster and stronger, I think this team is going to be trouble for the MVAC in the future, because you look at a team like Springfield who loses some guys. You look at a team like Lowville who is senior heavy. This could be Mineral Ridge's conference in the years to come.
Springfield and Ridge, that's my odds-on favorites for next year's MVAC. So we'll see how it goes. Canfield, we talked about them. The Poland-Jefferson game we kind of grazed over, but there was a lot of people, one in particular, that thought that this was going to be an absolute blowout, but a 1-point win, my friend. Were your eyes opened a little bit on Friday night to the score of this ball game?
It was. Jefferson came down to Poland the first time around. They beat them on senior night. Now, they did have a lot of injuries that night. I think Poland had some guys that returned that haven't played in a couple weeks, so that's a big difference there. And you know what? The Bulldogs playing in the postseason, they have had a lot of postseason success in the past. Jefferson is kind of new to this brand of football. So the Falcons, lucky to get by that first round with a 1-point victory, but now you're going to face a Girard Indians team in the second round who matched up very well against you in the regular season. So, Jefferson is going to have to go to Girard as well. So it's going to be in, Arrowhead Stadium. It's going to be tough. It's always hard to win there.
Arrowhead's going to be rocking on Friday night. Brookfield makes their way past Pymatuning Valley. No problems, really. Salem at Canton South could not come up with the dub, so the Quaker season comes to a close. Jackson Johnson, one of the best players in the entire area, his senior campaign and his Quaker campaign come to a close, and we just want to thank him for all the great times and great memories, great highlights that he put on at YSN. We are certainly going to miss him, the American Missile.
He was a part of one of the greatest games in Salem history last year in the rivalry against West Branch. And you go back on YouTube, you can still watch that game. I think it's got close to 1,000 views on YSN.
No kidding.
Everybody loved to watch that. I still go back and watch it a time or two. Just, both teams going back and forth like a seesaw, and nobody wanted to give in. West Branch, of course, punched in that game-winning touchdown there at the end with 2 seconds left or whatever.
Yeah, it was nuts.
It was. He's had so many good memories there at Salem, and he almost had the upset victory in Week 10 this year against West Branch.
Southern takes down South Central to draw another home game this week. We'll tell you who they play in just a moment. Steubenville Central Catholic falls short against Louisville. Vinny does it again and just keeps on chucking. They're not – I shouldn't say they're not going to pull Vinny out because I think they did rest him, if I'm not mistaken. However, we're going to see some Vinny Malone coming this week because I think they're going to have a nice chance to start just hucking, chucking the football like they do and have it mean something. You might get into a shootout. We talked about Valley Christian, impressive win over Trinity. United with that big win over Rootstown, scoring 62 points, their first ever playoff victory. Wyndham,
they fell to Danville.
They fell to Danville. Thank you very much. Garfield with that win over Conneaut. Lakeside fell to Riverside. And, of course, Mooney beats Edison. So that sets up, and we're going to try to get this all taken care of for you. We're going to go rapid fire here. So this week on the network, this is what we have for sure. So again, $9.99 gets you all these games, and we will tell you the 1 or 2 games that we're still working on to make sure that you can maximize that power play, power pass, the virtual ticket, whatever you want to call it. So the first game that we're featuring, Akron St. Vincent St. Mary at Austintown Fitch, Ty Bartell, and I believe Mike Ackelson will be back with him. We'll have the call. This is going to be a great game, one that I cannot wait to see. Kenston at Cheney. Anthony Malone is going to have this call, and he is geeked up for it. I'm excited for this one. Another physical match for Cheney. Are they going to be able to kind of lick their wounds in time to play Kenston? Even though Kenston, I think, had a decent game and had a little bit of a physical matchup as well. Then Aurora at Canfield. Richie, you got this one. I know you're amped up for it. Going to be another good test for Coach Pavlansky and the Cardinals.
Yeah, Aurora's tough. I had a chance to already watch Aurora's film a little bit last night when they beat Copley earlier in the season. Big tackle. Their left tackle is actually featured by Joshua Cribbs of the Cleveland Browns. So, they've got a guy that's probably going to go play some big D1 football. It's going to be a good game. I think Aurora, they're another team up in that area just south of Cleveland, play a lot of teams that are D2. So they've had some lumps and bruises this year, but, they've been battle tested. And I think both Aurora and Twinsburg are going to create a little bit of a threat for Ursuline and Canfield.
And that's what you want to be tested this time of year, because you'd hate to get all the way to the state championship and go, well, now we face our biggest test. You know what I mean? We haven't been tested to this point. We've cruised our way through 15 weeks. Let's just see what we can do. You want to be tested. You want to know what you're made of. Talmadge and Ursuline, you just said Ursuline's going to get tested. I'm excited to see it. Romo's going to be there. I'm sure Steve. I don't know if Steve will be there or not because YSU.
State, yeah.
So Romo will be flying solo on that one like Han. Struthers at West Branch. Mike and Amo have it. Oh, my goodness. Boy. Yeah, you're going to want to tune into that because just for the commentary, that is going to be dynamite with Amo and Mikey G. Kenton South at Beaver Local.
Oh, man.
And you've got Mackenzie and Sigler. See, now the worlds are colliding.
So now you got all the best.
The goats are coming together. They had a great call last week at Beaver Local as well. They'll get another one at Canton South and Beaver Local this week. Jefferson at Girard. You got Pat and Jordan going to call that game. Garrettsville Garfield at South Range. Yours truly. And where is no Gary Niddle on this? He'll be there. Come on. The G unit's always there. Cardinal Mooney at Norwayne. We are cleared for that. That means Jamie Thompson and David Williams will make the journey to Norwayne for this ball game. We have Cuyahoga Valley at Valley Christian rather. Alec Caberna will take this game. Springfield at Warren JFK. Dom O'Brien will have that covered for us. Norwalk St. Paul at Southern. Larry will have the call. Then you've got Lucas at Lowellville. Noah Doty, CJ Schroeds will make the trip over to Lowellville for this one. And the two games, I should say, that we are waiting for. We're pretty sure we're going to get United at Kirtland. And look who gets the call. The 440 and Gold Boys. Ryan and Sammy will have the call on that one. And Brookfield and Dalton, we're waiting on clearance for that. Matt Morrison and John will have coverage if we're able to pull that one through. Richie, it's time. Just like every time we want to end the show, it's time for the Joe Dickey Electric What's Your Spark, presented by our friends at Joe Dickey Electric. Visit them on the web at DickeyElectric.com. It's Halloween. People give free candy. What can your spark possibly be, my friend?
You know what? I guess I'll give a little plug here. 21 WFMJ brought to you by Coca's Pizza. 5:30, 7:30. Be there. I'll be handing out candy.
What if I showed up in a costume? Would you give me candy?
Yeah. As long as you have a costume. See, sometimes there's kids that show up, and this is my negative spark.
Oh, here we go.
And they're like 14, 15 years old.
Okay.
They don't have anything on.
Well, do you ask them what they are?
I'm like, what? And they always say, sorry.
You almost knocked over Z's water.
Bottle almost got
We've been
crushed.
searching for it last night.
They're always like, oh, I'm just with this person, like their little sibling. And then they have like a little bag with them.
But they want candy?
Yeah. Like,
no, you got to be dressed up.
Doing?
Even a little bit dressed up.
Yeah.
Like, listen.
Wear a hat.
I had a hoodie,
something.
a hat, and sunglasses, and I'm a different person. That's who I'm dressed up. I'm dressed up as a manager of a baseball team, which you were supposed to say something today. You didn't say it.
Forgot.
Angry. That would have completely put together the ensemble. But you're right. If they're not wearing a costume, you don't get
candy. I don't care who you're with.
Now, I do appreciate these are kind of cool. You got a kid, kids get the candy, and then sometimes adults get a beverage. I've seen that happen before. They hand out a little daddy pop. They say, hey, this bud's for you.
Might have to do that tonight.
That's a good call because it builds a little bit of camaraderie.
Yeah.
It builds a little bit of, hey, I know what you're going through. Because Halloween, and listen, youngster.
I might do that.
I'm going to tell you. Halloween's tough.
Oh, I know.
Here's a little story before we go, because this is kind of my spark. I've got one. First off, my positive spark, it's B's first birthday today. Happy birthday, baby. We love you. Had a great party here last night she is loved by literally everybody, but she's also the most beautiful little girl I've ever seen. I'm biased. All right. On to my negative spark. I got to pick the Halloween costumes this year. Star Wars, straight up. Z is a Jedi because his hair's so poofy he can't wear a mask to be Darth Vader, and B is an Ewok, which I know she's gonna get. Like, people are gonna call her a teddy bear. Like, I'm not worried about that. Here's where I draw the line. Apparently, in this world we live in, you're not allowed to take lightsabers to school. Okay. All right. Cool. It's a piece of plastic that lights up. It's a borderline flashlight, extended flashlight.
Yeah.
Fine. I get it. What bothers me is when you take a lightsaber away from a Jedi, you're basically dealing with a monk. You're dealing with a guy that's dressed up, a little kid that's dressed up like a monk. So one of the parents said, oh, he's a monk. And I said, don't worry, buddy. We'll get you fixed up. Like, he wasn't mad. He's just like, he doesn't know what a monk is. No. I know what a monk looks like. Don't know what they do. But if you gave a monk a lightsaber, I guess they'd be a Jedi. So tonight we fixed the problem, and I don't know what is going on in school that somebody would think that he's a monk. It wasn't a teacher. It was a parent. I'm not putting this on any of the teachers or any of the aides. They knew exactly what he was. But why would I get a 4-year-old a monk outfit? I just don't know. But I guess that's the world we live in now. People don't know Star Wars. That's a scary thought. I don't want to live in a world without Star Wars. You haven't seen Star Wars, have you?
No, I've seen a couple.
Okay. Somebody here hasn't seen Star Wars.
Yeah, I've seen a couple.
And I'm bugging out because you have to see Star Wars. It's one of the greatest stories of all time.
Yeah, I liked it.
Anyway, happy Halloween to everybody. If you're going to Richie's house, make sure you wear some costumes or else you will not get Daddy Pops.
Not getting nothing.
Nothing. And we'll be out and about here in Stream City at all hours. I'm excited. I'm excited for Bella. She's excited. She has no idea what she's in for.
No.
But she's dressed up like an Ewok. So and Z gets that. We got 2 lightsabers. I got one and Z's got one. So we might see a lightsaber war breakout.
Nice.
I'm excited. That's going to do it for our show today. Thanks for hanging out with us. For Richie, I'm DJ. We will see you tomorrow right here on the YSN Power Hour. Happy Halloween. YSN.